We Germans are a nation with itchy feet, and we're especially keen on flying. You see it every day, the call of the South. Industry is also increasingly taking advantage of air transport for plant and machinery. Tons of equipment reach their destinations overnight, as easily as a letter. And even though the skies are pretty crowded, it all runs smoothly. But these big birds have to get up into the air and land safely again. So, safe and robust runways are absolutely essential. It's a global problem. At Stuttgart's Degerloch Airport, they're in need of a new runway, amongst other things, to help meet their constantly growing traffic demands. The cost? A hefty 1.4 million marks, publicly funded, of course. As the state premier said, "Our economy is dependent on exports. Our business leaders are on the move worldwide. We need this airport for the economy, for development, and to secure jobs." Here in Vilden, as the area around the airport is known, these words translate into action. As the new runway will lie 1,300 meters further east of the airport, it needs not only a new control tower, but also a new fire station, taxiways, aircraft parking places, and other amenities. And all of these will have to be conjured out of the solid ground. There's not much time, and time is money, even in aviation. But this film report isn't about project financing. It's about the runway itself and the facts surrounding it. Concrete, concrete, concrete. The biggest construction site in southern Germany was started up in June 1995 and is scheduled for completion in May 1996. With a schedule this tight and a job this big, contracts are obviously only awarded to companies with the right background and experience. Hochtief Betonstraßenbau GmbH, a subsidiary of Hochtief AG, was appointed to carry out the job. The first and most important acquisition Hochtief made was this Wirtgen SP1600 slipform paver, the latest model, a machine on whose reliability the success of the runway construction project could stand or fall, both time-wise and financially. The first and most intense phase was the construction of a 1,745-meter-long extension to an existing runway 60 meters wide. The schedule for this, from start to finish, was 31st of July to the 4th of October. Each additional day over the deadline would cost Hochtief a penalty of 800,000 marks. Tough. Very tough. But understandable. The sharp reduction in traffic this construction would cause would mean a loss to Degerloch of 27 million marks over the previous year. This interim runway can only handle smaller aircraft, a mere 40% of the total traffic load. 60% of passengers have to be transported by rail or coach either to Frankfurt, Munich or Nuremberg. Not a long-term proposition. Hence the rush. Let's take a look at the composition of the runway. Long-lasting and hard-wearing for future generations of aircraft, the runway is constructed of a massive sub-base supporting a wet, lean concrete base course 15 centimeters thick. A 30 centimeter thick base course is laid over this, covered by a 10 centimeter thick concrete top course. Both the bottom and the top layer of concrete were paved wet on wet by the Wirtgen SP1600 in a single pass. The width of the runway is 60 meters, with a transverse gradient of 1.5% and a longitudinal gradient of 1%. 4 lanes will be laid adjacent to one another, connected by a sinusoidal profile. The workmen on this project are highly motivated, a fact demonstrated graphically by the daily rate of completion. In single-lane width, the runway grows 600 meters longer every day. Of course, there are days when everything just goes right. Not a single hitch, and everyone is operating on high energy, an unbeatable combination. It was on a day like this, on the 9th of September 1995, that this team set a Degerloch record, laying down 1,100 meters between 6 a.m. and midnight. An incredible performance for the small team with their Wirtgen SP 1600. That's 6,600 cubic meters of two-layer concrete, or 13,800 tons of perfect paving. Quite a feat. Well, everyone involved here will have concrete on their minds, so to speak, over the next few months. In total, around 100,000 cubic meters are due to flow. With this kind of volume, you need more than just a single mixer. So Hochtief installed these 3 high-performance mixing plants. The computer-controlled technology has so far proven its total competence and reliability. The concrete, produced about 3 kilometers from the construction site, has always been ready for use, spot on schedule. After all, 17 4-axle trucks are constantly in operation, ferrying it to where it's needed. Anything the construction engineer projects, he checks. With this rule in mind, the concrete is continuously checked and tested in the construction laboratory. It would be accurate to say right now that the Stuttgart runway will be built of the finest possible quality material available. Just the way it should be, in fact, for the model state of Swabia. Smooth logistics, expertise, and uncompromising personal commitment are an absolute must for this project. The construction engineer, Mr. Kampmann, always succeeds in making the impossible possible and keeping his employees motivated. Let's turn to our high-performance monster, known simply as SP 1600. This slipform paver has a noble background. It's from the house of Wirtgen, the biggest paver built by Wirtgen. It also delivers the highest performance. It can pave concrete slabs up to 16 meters wide in a single pass. The concrete for the base course is discharged in front of the spreader plough onto the wet, lean concrete base course and roughly distributed. The paver does the rest. The upper course, using concrete made with crushed rock aggregate with a particle size of 0 to 22 millimeters, is fed in here and transported to the spreading auger on conveyor belts. The liquid concrete is spread out onto the pre-laid finished base course and finished. None of the concrete surfaces are reinforced. However, the Wirtgen SP 1600 inserts tie bars and dowel bars. The super smoother and heavy-duty oscillating beam leave a spectacular concrete lane. Microprocessors maintain all the prescribed parameters with painstaking accuracy, ensuring a meticulously precise paving process. As with all pavers, the reference values are given by string lines. And this man with a broom gives the whole thing the final touch, as it were. He has to keep up a phenomenal pace. After he knocks off at the end of his shift, he's not likely to want to go for a walk. Given the contracted deadlines, no amount of sun, storm or rain can be allowed to affect the work in progress. That's also why the SP 1600 had a special canopy fitted, and why these mobile tents follow on its heels. Apart from this paving convoy, there are 170 construction vehicles, excavators, caterpillars and others in operation all over the construction site at the same time. And an average of 600 people are hard at it here around the clock. With this sort of diligence, it's no wonder that the first pass is completed with a flourish. No delayed deadline, no penalty. Man and machine both delivered their best. What else? Right on schedule, as is Lufthansa's way, the intercom comes alive with the voice of the pilot of the first machine, Airbus LH1870. Crew and aircraft had the honor of christening the new 2.5-kilometer long stretch of runway. We took our camera on board, just so you could experience the landing from the cockpit. Good morning, this is Lufthansa Flight 1870. We're just circling once more, and then it's time for pulses to start racing. We're landing on Stuttgart Airport's brand new runway. Right, we're on the approach. We'll be able to see the runway in a moment. Over there, towards the sun. Let's hope we don't leave any big marks. How about greeting the guests waiting for us down there? We've got quite an eager reception committee awaiting us. It looks fantastic. Happy landings. Now for the celebrations. Popping champagne corks and foaming beer. Back to the humdrum world. Of course, the stretch of runway is still too short and has to be extended. That calls for night shifts. During the day, aircraft from faraway places land and take off again. At night, when the flying is halted, the SP-1600 sweeps in. And off it goes. The pace is cracking. At 6 a.m. the first flights start up and everything has to be cleared from the security area. It's a strange atmosphere. There's little chat. The men are absolutely focused on the job in hand. The construction site is bathed in brilliant light, and over on the parking lot, the darkened hulks of the aircraft lurk in shadowy attendance, waiting for the dawn. Rays of light from the tower show that people are at work there too. A few minutes before 6 a.m., the last tents leave the security area. Made it. The navigation lights are switched on, sending their guiding signal into the sky. Minutes later, with the SP-1600 still beating a retreat, the first aircraft takes off. Now that's sheer precision scheduling. It isn't everybody's thing. It takes nerves of steel, self-confidence, and the perfect machinery for the job, like the Wirtgen SP-1600, for instance. Each night has to come to an end, with a glimmering of dawn. We're convinced that the rest of the construction work will run as smoothly to schedule and be as perfectly executed as the work to date. And that after that, the air around Stuttgart will hum to the throttles of 38 takeoffs per hour, as each year some 8 million passengers are ferried to far-off destinations. As the Swabians would say, bon voyage.